Hey guys, we're in the shop again today and we're going to make some rod holders that we can use. My boat is still in the shop and so I'm going to go bank fishing tomorrow, but I need some rod holders, and I've got this old piece of aluminum that I've mounted 4 rod holders on, and I'm going to make some that I can stick in the sand. Y'all follow along. I'm going to make some using these monster type rod holders. These are some that I actually made, and but anyway, I'm going to take these off here. I'm going to repurpose them. I'm going to use them in a way that I can use for surf fishing tomorrow. Y'all stick with me. I'm going to show you how it's done. The first thing we got to do, guys, is we've got to take one of these rod holders off this aluminum bracket that I have. Now I've got these tightened on. As you can see, they're tightened on with a nut on one side and a lock nut on the top. And but they're really not handy to use that way. So I've never used these. I've just been sitting back in the shop. But I'm going fishing tomorrow on the beach, and I need some rod holders. So I'm going to take these off, slide this out, lay this aside, throw that nut off, and then I'm going to take this nut off. There's got to be an easier way than a crescent wrench, but that's what I grabbed. I've sprayed, I made these out of some 3/8 rod or some 1/2 inch rod, and welded a bolt onto it, and then I'm using a nut here, but up here at the top I've sprayed some of that liquid rubber on it to protect my rods, and this thing has been giving me a little bit of a fit, so I've got this one ready to go. So let me lay this one down. First thing we've got to do, I've got some 1-inch square tubing. I'm going to bring you down here closer. Alright guys, I've got some 1-inch square tubing that I've got in here from out in the yard, out on my metal rack. And I'm going to cut 2 pieces off of this. I'm going to cut one that's 36 inches long and one that's 7 inches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And they don't have to be exact, but you want a 36 and a 7-inch piece, okay? I'll show you why that's important here in a minute. Alright, so I'm going to take and I'm going to cut this using my cutoff grinder. Give me some safety glasses. Find your other mark. Okay, I've got my 2 pieces. Let me bring you up here. So what I'm going to do is I am going to, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to drill a hole in my first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my 7-inch piece and I'm going to drill me a hole. And for this, when I drill a hole, guys, when I just need a pilot, what I do is I just take my impact and I take one of these self-tapping screws, and I'm going to put it on here about 1.5 inches from the end, something like that. Impact driver with a metal screw makes a great pilot hole. Take that out. Now I'm going to want that to do is I want this to be able to fit right down in there and have some wiggle room, okay? That's all I want that to do. Fit right down in there and have some wiggle room. All right, now I can see that this isn't the prettiest thing in the world, but I'm not real worried about it. I'll clean that up here in a little bit. But I've got my piece, my 7-inch. I've got a hole drilled in the middle of it, and it's got some wiggle room, as you can see. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to weld this onto my 3-foot piece, and I'm going to do it about 3 inches from the top. Okay, now when I do this, I want my hole to be standing up just like that. And I'm going to use the most square end that I can get, and I'm just eyeballing this. This doesn't have to be exactly 3 inches. Remember, it's just going to be stuck in the mud. But I do want to square this up with my square. Get this as square as possible. I want to make sure my hole is pointing upward. If your hole's not pointing upward, this will not work. And I'm going to take my pencil, wherever my pencil is. There it is on the floor. I'm going to take my pencil and I'm going to draw me a line. That line on here gives me a mark, so I know that if I bump it, I can get back square. All right. Now, what I'm going to do, I've got my MIG welder out. Take my MIG welder, place that right there on the, right here on the piece of metal. Okay, so I've got me a flat base. I've got it held up off the ground a little bit, off the table. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to mount my ground. Okay guys, so what I did was, I don't know if you know this, but most of these squares, they're 1 inch wide or sometimes 3/4, but they can level things out for you. What I'm going to do is I'm going to move this about 2.5 3 inches from the top. I'm going to flush up the back side, and I'm going to lay a bead here, and I'm going to weld that to my 3-inch piece. Okay, I'm going to put my welding hood on. Get my hat off, put my safety or my glasses on so I can see what I'm doing. Okay guys, I don't know if you can see this, but I've got this thing set. It's MIG steel C25. I've got my 75/25 argon. I've got 0.030 wire diameter, and I've got it set on 18 gauge. That may or may not matter to you, but I wanted to show you what I'm doing. Then I'm going to take adjust my helmet just a hair. I'm gonna mash down. Okay, got that tacked on, and I'm gonna weld it right in. Okay, I got that side welded. I'm gonna flip it over. I'm gonna weld this side and this side. Do this side real quick. All right, there's that side. Now I'm going to weld this side here. Okay, I've got that welded on. Now then, I've just welded on 3 sides. That's all I did. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take and I'm going to go to the side of the table and let you see me here. I've still got my ground on. I'm going to lay this up here. I'm going to take my rod holder with my nut on it, and I'm going to weld that nut. I'm going to weld that nut to the piece here. Tack, tack. All right. Okay, it turns well in there. Turn this thing around. Weld this part right here. Okay. I've got my rod holder on there. And the reason I needed a 7-inch piece was because I have to make sure that this doesn't hit my top over here when I'm screwing it in or out, okay? Now that's real important. So I'm gonna take this off now. Got my bolt set. I've got the piece welded on. All right, now what I'm gonna do, because I'm gonna use this for a hammer, what I'm going to do is I am going to go in down here. I've got a piece of strap and I'm going to cap the top. All right, so I've got a piece of 2-inch strap and I'm going to cap the top of this thing. We want to be able to weld this thing on all 4 sides. So I take my pencil. Actually what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut it right off. Take my square. Cut that right off. Then I'll weld it on, and after I get it welded on, then I will, after I weld that on, then I'll cut off that long piece. Put my safety glasses back on. Go down here to my grinder. Let you see what I'm doing. I'm using my floor jack as a way to hold my metal. You can see my mark right here. So I'm going to take and I'm going to put my knee on it. Move my foot out of the way so I don't get sparks everywhere. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put my ground back on my pipe. Okay. I'm gonna take that and I'm gonna center it, and all I'm gonna do is I'm going to put a couple of tacks, hold it on, keep it from twisting. Okay, that's all I'm doing. Now then I'm gonna, it's all tacked up, let me put my reading glasses on. When you get old, guys, and you have to use your reading glasses, it makes it fun. All right, so now as you can see right here, I've got my cap. I'm gonna zoom you in just a little. So I'm going to weld this cap on, and this is thick enough that I can use it as a to hammer on. You want to put a pretty good bead on it. Now I'm going to weld this part here. Alright, turn it over. Weld this part here. And then on the very last one, I'm going to weld this side here. Take my cutoff wheel and cut this extra piece off. Through with the welder. Put my safety glasses back on before I grab that grinder. Now then, I'm going to put a grinding wheel on. Take this one off. This one right here's about had it. Should probably unplug this thing before you use it. Now this one, you can see it's recessed down in there. What you're going to do is you're going to go in and you're going to put the part with the recessed part of the nut down. That's going to help center it and keep it from backing off. Just like that. Guys, that's right. So guys, what we've done is we've welded a 7-inch piece to a 36-inch piece. All right, we've drilled a hole in the top of it. We welded the nut for my rod holder in the top, and we put a cap on it so that we can use that to hammer it into the sand at the beach. All I'm going to do, I can position this any direction I want it to be. And this is a 2-position rod holder that we built. So there it is. Now just take you some spray paint and spray it the color you like. I'm gonna walk out there in the sun and spray it. So guys, here's my, I've got some hunter green or some forest green that I'm going to spray on it, just from what I had left over from one of my deer feeders. I didn't have any black or brown, but I do want to put some paint on it or it's going to rust. It's going to rust anyway. All right, let the sun bake that on. That's 2. As you can see, I've got 2 now. Those 2 are ready to go in the morning. Hope this helped, guys. Like and subscribe if it did.